Tonight on Let It Rip.
This is a critically important issue because we're talking about the lives of thousands and thousands of children.
Governor Rick Snyder unveiling a sweeping and expensive new plan to revamp Detroit public schools. The same system that's been under state control for 2 decades. He drops by to tell us why this time will be different. But first,
let me tell you what happened, and you can say we're right or wrong. I'll just tell you the truth about what happened.
It's not up to me.
Okay.
You saw Charlie LeDuff and Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan facing off over the soaring costs of demolitions. Now the mayor joins us live for round 2. Time to Let It Rip. With us tonight live, the mayor of the city of Detroit, Mike Duggan, taking questions from reporter Charlie LeDuff and anchor attorney Charlie Langton and myself. First of all, Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. You have had a lot of successes during your time in office, but there is growing concern tonight about the rising cost of demolition in the city and the bidding process in awarding the contracts. First of all, can you tell us why the cost of tearing down a house in Detroit has gone up 65 to 100% in just 2 years?
Because we are knocking down a lot more houses. So, Huel, when I started, we had 1,000 people a month leaving this city. Abandoned houses were a blight that were destroying neighborhoods. And when we started this project in the spring of 14, there had been no demolitions for 6 months. If you look back historically, the city had knocked down 25 houses a week. And when I looked around the country, that was the most. Cleveland was doing 15 or 20. We had 40,000 abandoned houses. If we kept going at 25 houses a week, it would have taken 30 years to take the houses down. There'd have been no neighborhoods left. And so I did what I believe is the right thing, and I think today's story was totally unfair, in that I brought in 2 outstanding construction people, Dave Menardo and Jim Wright, and I said, we can't do 25 a week. If we could do 100 a week, we can get the houses down in 8 years. If we could do 200 a week, we can get the houses down in 4 years. Do what you have to do. And they said to me, you need to understand, the faster you demolish, the more expensive each house gets, because most of the houses demolished in the past were done on emergency demo. They left the asbestos inside and just knocked it down. You start demolishing 100 a week, the State Department of Environmental Quality is going to make you take that asbestos out of each house. That's another $3,000. Our contractor capacity is about 25 a week. You start asking them to do 50, 75, 100, they've got people on overtime. It's going to stress the system. And the single biggest impact on cost is that when you're doing 25 a week, there's always some place you can get fill dirt. Somebody's building an office building, you bring the fill dirt in from free from nearby. At 25 a week, that was fine. When we started to hit 200 a week, we were having to send trucks out to Port Huron and Lake Orion to truck the dirt in from quarries to fill the holes, because we were filling hundreds of holes a week. And the trucking costs blew through the roof. But I had a theory that said, if we speed this up and take these houses down, the burned out houses, we got a lot of beautiful vacant brick houses in these neighborhoods. I think we'll be able to sell them. I think people will move back in. And in fact, that's exactly what's happened. We've dramatically sped up the rate of demolition. It's much more expensive to demolish it fast, but we've had hundreds of people move into these vacant homes, and the Skillman Foundation just commissioned a study by Dynamometrics that said since last year, property values in these neighborhoods have gone up $200 million. That's an independent assessment. So did we knock down the houses faster than they've ever been done in America? Absolutely. We've taken down 7,000 houses in 18 months. Nobody in America could have done more than 2,000. And the property values are up in neighborhoods across the city where we're doing the demolitions. And so we made a decision. I think there are things we can do to bring the cost back down. Okay, and the 20,000 is what we've seen the last couple of months when we added in requirements like 4 inches of topsoil and planting grass. That wasn't last year when the unit price bid went on. But I think there are things we can do to bring the cost down. But we can't lose sight of the fact we have had major success in these neighborhoods with this program.
But I'm hearing in Pontiac, they're doing the same sort of thing. They're tearing down houses, putting in clean soil, putting in topsoil with grass seed, and they're doing it for $11,000 per property.
Absolutely. And if we did, like Pontiac's doing, between 5 and 10 a week, I can absolutely do it for $11,000. In fact, when we started out, we were doing it at $11,000. The first few months, we were doing 25 at a time. So I can do 5 or 10, or I can go back to 25 a week, and I can do that for $12,000. It's going to take 30 years. And so we made a choice. Can the people of Detroit wait 30 years to get these houses down, or should we spend more money, get them down faster, and move people into the other houses? And that's why we're doing it, and we're doing it, not saying we're doing it perfectly, but we're trying to do the right thing, and we're making good progress.
But if I buy a case of beer, isn't a case of beer cheaper than just buying one bottle of beer?
It is not when you're talking about demolition. So think about what you're saying. If you were doing 25 a week, the state was allowing the house to be demolished with the asbestos inside. When you're doing 150 or 200 a week, the asbestos can't be flying around the neighborhood. The state has demanded that we go in and take the asbestos out ahead of time. That's $3,000 a house to remove the asbestos before you demolish it. But the biggest question is fill, Charlie. If you're only doing a small number, you can go 10 miles away to Southfield to building an office building and bring the clean fill in. When you're doing 150 to 200, you know how many cubic yards of fill we put in the ground in the last year and a half? Nearly 2 million cubic yards of fill. You don't get that in the local office building. You get that by driving to quarries 30 and 40 miles away and trucking it in. And it was the trucking expense to bring dirt in from 30 or 40 miles away that has driven up the cost. We tried to take the fill from I-96. We tried to take the fill from the hockey arena. We tried to take the fill from the M1. Every one of them tested so high in contaminants we couldn't use them, and that was what caused the main impact on the problems.
But Charlie, there are other concerns as well.
Well, look, I don't know where to start. For how many houses have been completely torn down, and we built a state from January last year to April of this year?
Between 3,500 and 4,000.
Okay, 3,500.
That's how many built. That's not many down, Charlie.
So,
you know the difference.
Right,
You're playing a little game here.
So I did some checking. Dennis Archer was tearing down 3,000, adjusted for inflation. That price was $9,200. So this world record thing doesn't
over
fly.
3,000 over 8 years. Okay?
No, 3,000 in 1 year,
No way.
18,000 in 8 years.
No,
sir.
no way.
I'll give you the numbers later. The Blight Task Force came out with a report. That's Dan Gilbert, who also commissioned that study you talked about. Said that Detroit was following the asbestos standards and that they estimated the price of demolition should be somewhere between $8,500 and $10,500. So I still don't know how we get to 20,000.
Well, let's stop you there. You saw Dan Gilbert's statement tonight. So Dan Gilbert and the Blight Task Force put out a statement tonight strongly supporting what we're doing and indicating that since they issued that report, they found we can't take the dirt from I-96, we can't take the dirt from the M1 rail, we can't take the dirt from the hockey arena, and that the costs have gone up because of the speed of that.
Let's see the costs.
So you've seen the costs.
Offer a spreadsheet.
You've seen the costs. The costs are in every single bit.
I've just heard this. I can't get a number. I don't see the cost.
That's nonsense, Charlie. You've gotten every single number.
But I think one of the bigger problems, too, is the bidding process. There is certainly the appearance of some sort of collusion.
Absolutely
not that I'm accusing you of any wrongdoing,
Absolutely
but
not.
there is the appearance that
Absolutely
three big
not.
companies were contacted before the bidding process was even open to the smaller contractors in this Detroit.
Absolutely not. So, Huel, this is the thing that I most resent about this story, because here's the truth about what happened. So we were moving along 100, 150 a week. We've got small contractors who've got maybe 3, 4 pieces of equipment, the so-called excavators that take down the house. We went to the state of Michigan, and under our agreement, the state of Michigan puts out all bids. The state of Michigan approves all contracts. We went to the state of Michigan and said, we need to get huge contractors in here to do 400, 800 at a time. And in order to do that, we need to do a set price contract. We need to make the price the same for everybody. And the state said, that makes sense. How are you going to set the price? We said, let's take the average price of all the demolitions we're doing. Now we're talking June of 14, and we'll do this one time as a pilot, which we did. It has nothing to do with these $20,000 numbers. So we set a price. It would have been about $13,500. And we talked to the major contractors, and we said, if we gave you the average price of about $13,500 or about 52 cents a cubic yard, cubic foot, whichever it was, will you take large numbers? The state said, that's fair. Jim Wright sends a letter to the state official doing the bid. And what Charlie didn't say is the reason he came back today for the second interview was when he showed me the email yesterday, he had blanked out who had received it, making it look like there was collusion. After he left, I looked and it turned out Jim Wright had sent the email to the state official running the vendor process. He was telling the
So what's
state
weird about that?
what was going on. Because, Charlie, it's not collusion when you're sending the letter to the state saying, here's the set price.
Did Jim send an email saying, hey, look, man, there's price being set up?
Yes, that's exactly what it said. In fact, the state officials had been in the earlier meetings. And so, but here's the thing, the price was 52 cents for everybody. So it didn't matter.
Let me get in here then. Since you're unhappy, let me explain a few things. First of all, you talk to all the other contractors, and the rest of the contractors got 1 day to ask questions on a multi-million-dollar bid, and then 1 day to get the stuff in. So what did you expect? Number two, we gave a premium price to these big contractors to tear down 400 houses a month. Nobody tore down 400 houses a month, so we gave a premium for stuff that was in the contract that was never honored. You're running the program. You even say the costs are too high. You must admit Detroit being bankrupt can do better than this and show the country we can manage money better than this.
Okay, I absolutely disagree with those things. In the first place, they were to knock down 800 houses in 2 months. They got down about 600 houses in 5 months. So they didn't make the timeline.
Wait a minute,
but
what did you say?
But at the end of the year, they didn't make the timeline.
You said 500 in how many months?
600 in 5 months.
Okay, we're supposed to be 800 in 2 months.
I understand.
That's
So-
what we're paying
okay.
this big money.
So let's just talk about this, Charlie. We got 600, it's more than anybody's done. So at the end of 2014, instead of having 800 houses down, which would have been normal, we got 3,500 houses down, 4 times more than anybody had done. Now, Charlie's right. If they had done the whole amount, we would have gotten 4,000 down by the end of the year. We got 3,500 down. Will I tell you that it's perfect? No. But we ran out of trucks because we were trucking in hundreds of thousands of cubic yards of dirt and competing with the hockey arena and the M1 rail to rent the trucks.
You know, I thought that we could resolve this in 15 minutes. We cannot. We're going to have you back because there's a lot more to discuss.
I'll be glad to.
But we appreciate you being here and for at least beginning the discussion. We want this process to be fair and open and for everyone to feel that the price is right and that the bidding process will work for any and every contractor, even the small ones, in the city of Detroit.
It does, Huel. And Huel, I want to say that last part. We do small contract bids at 25 and 50. The large bid was for people who had 30 or 40 pieces of equipment. And there weren't that many, but anybody who was that big had a chance to bid at that price.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. Much more to come on this issue, but we appreciate you coming here tonight.